We live in this thing. It's Thursday night football. Welcome everybody on Twitch. Welcome everybody on Facebook. We back live again. Again, these lives are being brought to you in part by Keeping It Trill Entertainment. When you think your country is doing you wrong, they might be, and I'm gonna tell you, because I'm keeping it trill with you, man. Keeping it trill. Anyway, welcome everybody to the chat. We got a great video for y'all today. We will be talking about the bailout. We will be talking about the government spending, healthcare programs. That's one thing that we want to really touch on, because the healthcare spending is crazy. The healthcare spending is crazy. So, anyway, before we get to the farmers, when there's $20 billion Argentina bailout, we're gonna first hear about other things in political news. Then we're gonna deep dive into the bailout, and then we're gonna deep dive into healthcare, as I said before.
This is absolutely chilling. The official Department of Homeland Security account just crossed a major line. They tweeted out one single word saying remigrate, but this speaks volumes about their agenda. That is a term used by these people which means ethnic cleansing. That describes the systematic violence aimed at eliminating people based on perceived ethnicity, race, and culture. The fact that this came from an official US government account should terrify every single person in this country. Remigration isn't just some policy term, it's a direct nod to extremist rhetoric, deeply rooted in 1930s Germany and ethno-nationalist movements in Europe. It's a word that may sound harmless to many people, but it carries the same genocidal undertones as ethnic cleansing. When a government agency echoes that type of language, it's not a mistake, it's a signal that we all have to take seriously. This really shows how normalized fascist language has become in mainstream politics because of the MAGA movement. 10 years ago, this would have been unthinkable coming from an official US agency, but now it's being tweeted out without apology or context. The entire remigration movement is built on fear. Fear of diversity, fear of progress, fear of equality. It blames minorities, marginalized groups, and immigrants for the failures of leadership and policy. This is no longer about border security or law enforcement. It's about power through division. This is absolutely chilling. The official
And it's the crazy part about this is we're seeing a lot of I don't know what to call the type of rhetoric that we're seeing on these government sites, but we're seeing divisive, we're seeing propaganda on government websites. I forgot to play the video from the airports the other day, which most airports are refusing to play that video, and which I think is important, because the airport should not be a place of political action. It should actually it's a place of travel, but there are a lot of government workers, but that's just like saying don't bring politics into the workplace. Or nurses can't speak on their political stance with patients. So I don't think airport travelers should be, worried about political stances when your actual life is on the line every time you step on the airport. So just saying.
All right, for anybody who was trying to just enjoy your Saturday, just kidding, can't do that under the Trump regime. It has been announced that Dominion Voting, yes, that Dominion, has now been acquired by someone who is a Trump loyalist. So I'm going to need your attention. So go get some coffee, come on back, because it's going to take a couple minutes to walk through it. But boy, does everybody need to understand what just changed. It was purchased by someone named Scott Leyendecker, and he is a former GOP elections official from St. Louis, obviously Trump aligned. So they're now going to be calling it Liberty Vote. As a condition of the sale, of course the details were not disclosed, the lawsuits against Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and their OAN, their little wish version of Fox News, those all had to be closed out and settled. It's important to note here that Dominion, now Liberty, doesn't just own the actual voting machines, they own the systems that count the votes, the ones that go on to become certified. How it works is that voters go in and they either fill out like a paper ballot or they use a digital system called, I think it's called like ImageCast, right? And they can cast their vote. And that prints out like a paper ticket, okay? Then the voter takes that paper ticket so that they can verify it and they drop it into an optical reader, which tabulates, right? Based on what's written, it tabulates the vote. And then all of that information is fed into a central election management system. So the individual sites are disconnected from a main server to prevent hacking. Okay, so it's all on like a little disk drive or whatever. And then that is all fed up to that election management system. Then that hub totals all the votes across the various counties so that you can reach a statewide total. Of course, Dominion does not have every single voting machine, but they will now own about 50 to 60%. That software aggregates votes across like 27 states, covering roughly 70 to 100 million votes in the 2024 election. And now Liberty Vote owns all of it. Here's where the real dirty crap happens, okay? When things like Dominion change hands, there's no automatic federal recertification. That is a real problem because the certification that happened before, when it was owned by Dominion, just gets transferred to the new owner, Liberty Vote. Again, a Trump-aligned GOP. And that means that the new leadership could push software updates or whatever they want without a fresh audit. You guys read between the lines. And security assurances from the former certification may not hold because now you have new people who have access to the software. And of course, this is very dangerous because people assume that everything has been independently checked, but it hasn't. And in other critical infrastructures like power grids, defense, telecom. All right, guys, on today's episode of Survivor American Citizen Edition, if you saw the video that I did, I think it was 2 days ago, and it basically says like Dominion was just purchased by a Trump loyalist. If you didn't see it, go watch it because it'll make sense why this video is such a big deal. A short version though, the man's name is Scott Leyendecker. He's a former GOP official and of course Trump ally, aka he's in Trump's pocket. And he purchased what was Dominion Voting, yes, that Dominion Voting, and rebranded it to Liberty Vote. Also, bonus round, they don't have to go through federal recertification, meaning they can do pretty much whatever they want with the software on the back end. Anyways, go watch that video. Today's batch of crazy, I didn't want to address it in that video because it's just like too much to handle emotionally all in one smack. So that same person, Scott Leyendecker, he also owns a company called No Ink. And they are basically like, you know, when you go to vote and you hand them your ID and they kind of scan it and they're like, oh yeah, everything's checked out. You go to vote. He owns those machines too. Don't worry. I'm going to unpack the crazy for you. And when you couple that with the fact that Trump keeps always saying about how he doesn't want us to have paper ballots anymore, but Scott Leyendecker says, oh no, I'm a neutral party and I push for paper ballots and full transparency. Well, of course you do, big guy, because, and again, this goes to the video from the other day, those ballots, even the ones that are like that you vote at home and you drop off at the polling location, guess whose machines tabulate those votes? You guys figure it out. It's his machines. Why is it a problem that he owns these things where you check in? Always easier to demonstrate something with an example. Let's say Alice in Georgia, a Democrat in a very red area, she goes to vote. She walks up to the polls. She hands the poll worker her ID. They scan it through one of Scott Leyendecker's machines from No Ink, and they go, oh yeah, sorry, there's something wrong with your vote. You're either not registered or your address is wrong. Whatever the case is, you can't vote today. Just to protect myself legally. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen with these machines, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. And when you give people like that access to that much power, it could happen.
So pretty much all this is saying is, there could be some voter fraud. Potentially what Donald Trump has been screaming for the past umpteen years. Listen. I'm not 100% on board with this. I really don't know. The people who owned the machines before were probably they probably weren't Trump supporters, which is the reason why he wanted to get them out of the hands of that company. Somebody bought it for a sweet deal. Apparently, all I gotta say is follow the money. Only on situations like this, when things just look too suspicious, that a company owns these voting machines, there's nothing wrong with it. One person wins complains about the voting machines being, scams, and we don't check the voting machines, then they put it into another hand with an open person, a person that openly supports the candidate who is now winning, so to speak. So then what have you? So now it's like, oh, okay, he's on our side. He's totally going to tell the truth now. I don't think if the truth wasn't being told then, that the truth will be told now. I don't think if the count wasn't right then, it definitely ain't gonna be right now, because now you have somebody who's loyal to your cause. So now, what do we do about this? Like in all these situations, as far as the first situation, the first video that I played, and now this video, we hear this information. Nothing's gonna be done about these situations. Okay, like there's not gonna be anybody trying to block the sale of, or they can't block it, the sale of this company Dominion to now, which is now Liberty. Nobody's, what was that other video?
This is absolute country.
The remigration. People seeing this on websites. Nobody's speaking out about the propaganda being pushed. I mean, people might be speaking out, but what's going to be done? Like, are there going to be some legal ramifications to what's going on? Is there going to be an investigation? No, there's not going to be an investigation into these, because the people, the judges, and the people who create the investigations are all loyalists to Trump. So all they're going to do is say, no, the FBI is not going to push forth an investigation on any of this stuff. Not on the propaganda put on government websites. The FBI is not going to investigate Liberty ballot services. Nobody's going to investigate it. It's just going to get swept under the rug. It'll be something else that will be going on for the next few years. Somebody complaining about the votes not being counted, votes being thrown out, driving down a dirt road and you see hundreds of ballots flying across because some mailman and went rogue and threw all the ballots out. I mean, you're just going to hear it everywhere. So, I mean, but nothing's going to be done. But it's a great information to know, I guess, if y'all want to go deeper into it.
I'm Christina Owayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Democrats are allegedly demanding the removal of Dominion voting machines after a Republican investor purchased the company and rebranded it as Liberty Voting. Dominion Voting Systems is the company once hailed by the left as a pillar of election security. Scott Leyendecker, a former Republican elections director from St. Louis, Missouri, and the founder of the election tech firm No Inc., has taken full control. Leyendecker, with over 25 years of experience in election administration, outlined Liberty Vote's mission to, quote, deliver secure, simple technology that puts voters first. The new entity vows 100% American ownership, domestic staffing, and software development. They are also making a firm commitment to hand-marked paper ballots, lining up with President Trump's executive order on election integrity. The undisclosed transaction was confirmed by Dominion's outgoing CEO, John Poulos, in a statement. Liberty Vote will conduct a top-to-bottom review of existing equipment ahead of the 2026 midterms, rebuilding or retiring machines as needed to meet rigorous standards. Third-party audits will become routine, closing loopholes that skeptics, including many conservatives, have flagged for years. That's what you need to know in Dallas.
So, yeah, that explained it, because, is it going to be a third-party, audit with these voting machines? Absolutely. And they should be able to go randomly check the machines if they want to. I don't think that, I think there should be some oversight, regardless of, they said the Dominion was a heavily liberal favorite, I guess, whatever the Democratic Party wanted to keep Dominion in, and now they're throwing a fit because Dominion's out. If anything, I think Dominion would be, it worked perfectly fine, right? Because Trump got elected twice, right? So did it work or did it not work? I'm trying to figure that out. Help me understand. If Trump got elected twice, How did the machines not work? You know, it is what it is. But yeah, they do need a forensic analysis on every machine, a audit. Not every machine, but an audit. Random machines, making sure the counter's right, making sure it's scanning in names right. 100% accuracy is what they need.
Hey, Anthony,
Yeah,
what do you think about the change in ownership of Dominion voting machines?
I think it's really scary that the second largest producer of voting machines in the United States has been bought out by a former GOP official, especially in wake of all of the changes that the Trump administration is trying to make to election integrity.
What does this mean for voting integrity?
Well, I think we only need to look to Trump's executive order on elections to see that, because the GOP official who has bought Dominion voting systems and renamed it Liberty Vote, of course, has said that he plans on following the rules set forth by Trump's executive order on elections when he is making decisions for this company. And these are rules that have already been declared illegal by multiple courts because they are intended to disenfranchise minority voters, voters of color, and to cause intimidation in election places. Rules like requiring paper ballots, which doesn't sound that bad up top, but when you consider that states like California and Georgia have the majority of voting done by paper ballots, when you consider that our service members that are deployed in other countries do voting by paper ballots, and anybody who is disabled or working a hard job where they may not feel they have time to take off time to vote, those are people that are also likely to vote by paper ballots. So it's designed to disenfranchise all of those people. They're also talking about things like requiring proof of citizenship to register, which plants the idea that we have this huge problem with undocumented immigrants voting in our elections when in fact it basically never happens. The incidences of it occurring are near zero. And they're doing things like requiring actual paper ballots to be used to cast votes. And that goes to the fact that Dominion Voting Systems is the company that was sued by the Trump administration in 2020 for supposedly rigging the election for Biden to win. And Dominion voting machines work by basically voting via a touchscreen, and then the machine prints out a paper ballot to be scanned by QR code, and then the votes are tallied that way. Although, of course, the paper record is also kept and heavily scrutinized. And, they want to take that away, too, to just add another step of complexity to voting and make it harder for people to do. So when you combine that with the other things that I think we can expect in the upcoming elections, such as voter intimidation at ballot places, further attempts at gerrymandering, and doing things like minimizing the amount of polling locations in areas that are not white, I think that there's a real strong indication that the Trump administration does not intend for there to be any more fair and free elections in the U.S., especially since he told his constituents during the election that, vote for me one more time and you won't need to vote again. I think that's what we're seeing right now.
That's a hard stance. Anthony makes great points every day. And I don't know what made me just start watching him. Somebody sent him to me, and I was just like, It's like when Dave Chappelle asked, "Well, what does Ja Rule have to say about this?" This is my Ja Rule. Okay.
Hey everyone, well I am here with Angie Craig, who is the ranking member, meaning the highest ranking Democrat of the Agriculture Committee, and she just shared some breaking news with the caucus. So ranking member Craig, what is going on?
Well, it looks like the Trump administration has upped its taxpayer bailout of Argentina to $40 billion. At a time when economic assistance is needed to American family farmers. This is one of the most egregious acts of this administration.
And the corruption abounds. In fact, what you just told me was that the President of the United States is going to send $40 billion of American taxpayer dollars to Argentina to bail them out of their own manufactured economic crisis because their own leader, who is a lot like Trump, frankly, and his buddy, basically bankrupted the country of Argentina. But this is the thing that gets me. He's up for re-election right now, and Donald Trump basically said this aid package is...
Well, this is actually a bribe for Donald Trump to try to get the Argentinian people to re-elect this dictator. It's just the most corrupt, inappropriate use of presidential power, and at the expense of American taxpayers and family farmers in this country. As I said, it's one of the most egregious acts of this administration.
So basically, Trump is conditioning this aid, which is your taxpayer dollars, on this crazy guy winning re-election. So it's a bribe to the Argentinian people. But in addition to that, we're here fighting to save your health care, to keep WIC funded, and to make sure that people can put food on the table. And you also shared with us another shocking revelation.
All right, before she get into that other shocking revelation, because we're gonna talk about everything that this lady talks about in this video today. I'm gonna try to get to it because I know I'm probably keep y'all here 2 hours, and some of y'all gotta go to work tomorrow. Y'all's, high paying jobs, and y'all can afford all the eggs in the world, and gas prices isn't a thing, and y'all just perfect out there, right? So America first, right? A lot of this money is going to bail out. This is just hearsay. It's bailing out Argentina farmers, where Argentina is a competitor with American farmers for China soybeans. Okay, for China, the supplies China with soybeans. Is it true? I don't know. We're gonna deep dive into it. But again, the bailout went from $20 billion to $40 billion. Now, Trump did say that this money would not be coming from American taxpayer citizens. It will be private donors. Well, that's great. It's not coming from American citizens, but why would it come from private donors? Why would a private donor just bail out a whole country? That should raise some questions, right? But hey, maybe there's some minerals down there, maybe some oil, maybe a little bit of something. Somebody getting some kickbacks. We're not just bailing out a country for nothing. America does some shady shit, but this one is on the list. Okay, let's continue to hear what she got to say.
Which is that the Trump administration is telling states to not distribute SNAP money, which is food benefits, to folks who qualify next month. Tell us more about that.
Well, the SNAP benefits will go out in October. That is already in the pipeline, but USDA has issued a memo to states instructing them that if the government is shut down after November 1st, not to distribute SNAP at a time when grocery prices are sky high and people are already having to choose whether to pay the rent or feed their families. Again, it is a direct attack on working families in our country.
And in my personal opinion, it's immoral.
Does anyone need any assistance with food this next month? I mean, like, if y'all living paycheck to paycheck and you won't be receiving your SNAP benefits, if you do, just please reach out and let me know if you've received any email or paper mail that says anything of that nature that says you won't be receiving your SNAP benefits for November if the government doesn't shut down. I just want to know from the real people, not just people online just be on some bullshit and just talking. Because if you're really affected by this, then this is important to know. This information is not getting out. We hear these people tell us, the people, the Congress people, and the news tell us stuff, but we don't really hear from the people. We are the people. We need to be speaking out on these things. I don't think y'all understand that. Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, if you receive snaps, I mean, it's not a bad thing. If you're on welfare and you're a Republican, it's okay. Nobody really cares. Who won't judge you. But if this affects you, let us know. You know what I'm saying? Just don't keep your voice silent because you're a Republican. That would be un-American. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the fact that the president would give $40 billion in taxpayer-funded bailouts to essentially an autocrat in another country and then allow families to starve is immoral. It's wrong.
Look, and I don't know how the hell this constitutes America first. So I would say to family farmers, we understand your pain. We're fighting for you. Working families, we understand your pain. We're fighting for you. And I'm going to fight with all of my might against the bailout of a foreign country while Americans are having to forego their groceries.
And you better.
While the U.S. government is shut down right now, it's one thing to have the president leaving the country and flying to other countries, as Trump did today. It's another thing to have the U.S. government funding another country's government while we are not funding ours. Nevertheless, Trump's Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, just sent $20 billion, just sent 20 billion U.S. taxpayer dollars to go fund the government of Argentina, to go bail out their currency for some reason. Argentina's currency has dropped 27% in value already this year, but we're buying $20 billion worth of it. Why is that? That doesn't seem like a good bet. Don't worry, it's just a loan. Right, think we're going to get that loan back? I don't know. The IMF has had to bail out Argentina 23 different times. Argentina owes the IMF more money than any other country on earth. The most recent IMF bailout was just in April, and even that wasn't enough to keep their economy and their peso from continuing to tank. But apparently now it's us.
Did anybody do any research for bailing out? That's like, you know, you got a cousin who don't never pay people back. And then that cousin comes to you and says, hey, cuz, can I borrow some money? I promise I'll pay you back on Friday. Now you know you got 27 other cousins that he didn't promise to pay back, and he ain't paid them back. But you thinking, you know what, fam? I know we grew up, you know, riding bikes together, you know, kicking the shit. I'll loan you the money. I know you're going to pay me back. And what do you think happens? But
Scott Bessent, Trump's Treasury Secretary, nevertheless just gave Argentina $20 billion of your money to prop up the government of Argentina, even though we have almost no trade with them. And if their economy or their currency collapses, that would be sad for them, but it would likely have no effect on us. This is not something we're doing to protect ourselves. It is just a favor to them. Trump and Scott Bessent have given them 20 billion US dollars out of the US Treasury, a $20 billion bailout that already appears, quite possibly, to be lost down a deep, dark well. Because even after Trump gave them this $20 billion infusion within the last few days, CNBC reports today that markets today reacted in such a way that indicates that $20 billion might not be enough. Argentina might tank anyway. And that presumably best case means that we'll never get our $20 billion back. Worst case, it means they're going to keep giving them even more money that we'll never get back.
and then they decided to give them. Your cousin called back and said, yo, cuz, I just found out, man, the $20 I asked for earlier, it ain't going to be enough. You think you can loan me 20 more? Yeah.
Well, this is a pretty controversial undertaking by the Trump administration. Basically, what you're doing here is a currency swap. So it's the United States saying we're going to buy $20 billion worth of Argentinian pesos. So $20 billion US for the equivalent of $20 billion in Argentinian pesos. The idea here from the administration is to prop up what has been a horrific Argentinian economy. Going back well over a decade now, you're talking about devaluation of currency, high debt, deflation. It's really made a very difficult time for the country of Argentina. And what you're getting from the Trump administration here is a lifeline. It's a bailout of sorts in the sense that this is going to stabilize a very volatile Argentinian peso. That's the stated goal here. But it's also to help prop up the Milei government. This guy, Javier Milei, is the very controversial president of Argentina. He's an ally of President Trump's, no question about it. And so it's two things kind of at the same time here, propping up a political ally, but also trying to prop up Argentina's economy by injecting U.S. dollars into their system. It comes at a time that the United States government is shut down, right? And the optics of this, sending money abroad versus, people hurting here at home, certainly something the administration's dealing with. But I think when you're looking at why this is happening now,
It's important to look at the political calendar in Argentina. You've got midterm elections scheduled in that country for October 26th. The president's party is very much at risk of losing a political majority and therefore not being able to enact any of its agenda, an agenda that the Trump administration really, really likes.
Well, so in other words, I know this has happened to y'all because I'm pretty sure everybody wants that $1 million come up. You find a cryptocurrency that's, oh, this is going to be the hot currency. So you spend 100, 200, 1,000, anything that your pockets can afford, and you invest. You're thinking, hell, one day maybe it might be worth something. And within the first few hours, you've already lost 25% of your investment. You're like, what the f is going on? 6 months down the line, you've lost 50% of your investment. Now, a year down the line, you're down to about 10% of your initial investment. You've lost everything, so you have all these coins. This is essentially what has happened, what is happening. Why are we trading our US dollars for Bitcoin? Not or cryptocurrencies, pretty much, because pesos ain't worth shit. It's just like if you buying cryptocurrency from your favorite, from the Haktua girl, okay? You bought all this crypto from the Haktua girl, now it ain't worth a penny, okay? That's stupid.
For Argentina, what's the benefits for United States in helping this way Argentina?
Just helping a great philosophy take over a great country. Argentina is one of the most beautiful countries that I've ever seen. And we want to see it succeed. Very simple. I mean, we don't have to do it. It's not going to make a big difference for our country, but it will in terms of South America. If Argentina does well, you're going to have others following.
For Argentina, what's the benefits for United?
Are you angry?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm totally mad. There's no reason for it. This is absolute stupidity. This is a man-made crisis caused by Donald Trump, period.
John Bartman is a soybean farmer whose family has been working Illinois land since before the Civil War. This year, his crops, diligently planted, meticulously cared for, are losing their value.
This is a yield monitor. This allows me to see instantly what my yield is doing. So this is 4,134. So that's roughly $40,000 worth of soybeans that we have harvested. And a couple years ago, that was easily $60,000. So that's a major, major change. This is the economics. It's what we do in this country. We export food. And we can't do that right now.
Soybeans are the largest agricultural export from the U.S., valued at more than $24 billion last year, 52% of which was exported to China. But this year, soybean exports to China are down 51% compared with the same time period last year. The drop comes as China stopped buying soybeans from the U.S. and an escalating trade war. President Donald Trump insists farmers will win the trade war. Posting on Truth Social October 1st, "We've made so much money on tariffs that we are going to take a small portion of that money and help our farmers. I will never let our farmers down." John Bartman is skeptical.
Bailout's not going to do it. Bailout, unfortunately, we need the money.
Once you lose a customer like China, can you ever get them back?
I sincerely doubt it. Why would they?
Are you?
Why do we have to consistently bail out farmers if we just make everyone, live, pull themselves up by the bootstraps? If the soybean is not selling in China, hell, go sell it on the streets of, Oakland or, somewhere in Montana or Tennessee, But listen, America first. If I guess if we can bail out Argentina, we should be able to bail out our farmers, right? Not to mention the people who need health care. Fuck them. You know what I'm saying? They don't need it. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, essentially, okay? While Americans here today are fighting, grocery store prices, we're not getting bailouts. You know what would be great? If every American could get about like $200 in food stamps Just every one of them. Actually, that's a fun fact. Cherokee Nation gave me $200 and some a month, but I can only buy like bread, cereal, milk, eggs, cheese, stuff like that. I'm fine with that. Give me that all day. But hey, I was like, shit, for real? Bring it on. I have no problem with it. I'm pretty sure those little vegetables, I could buy the vegetables with the card. Everybody can use that. Why does the Cherokee Nation have to bail out everyday people and not our government? Well, we got to fight our government. Our government say we don't need it, but everyday people do need it. So I don't know about what y'all people doing for y'all, but ours is taking care of ours. But and not just I ain't afraid to be like transparent about receiving whatever it is. I'm a single father with a bunch of kids, so yes, and they're taken care of, and we don't have Medicaid or Medicare or whatever. It doesn't matter, but we don't. But fact of the matter is, these farmers don't want to be bailed out. They don't want a handout. This man got up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning and tilled the yard, tilled the farm, milked the cows, wrangled up the chickens, okay, fed the cows every day. He want to get up and do his job every day. He don't want to be bailed out. He don't want to be bagging up soybeans and not selling it. He want to go down to the truck, get a truck to come and pull up, buy all their soybeans, send it off to China, and he get his money the right way. You know what I'm saying? He don't want to be bailed out. Trump wants to bail them out. Trump is like, you're going to fail with these tariffs, but if you fail, I'm going to bail you out. But everyday Americans is asking for lower grocery prices, or we need food stamps, or we need housing, and Trump people are like, nope, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's that farmer.
The U.S. is increasing its bailout of Argentina from $20 billion to $40 billion. That's a bunch of nonsense. The first $20 billion is coming from the U.S. government, but the additional $20 billion will be from private investors, sovereign wealth funds, and banks. Well, they're working adjacent with the U.S. government, but regardless, whether it's $40 or $20 billion, why are we giving any to a foreign country? Well, first off, we aren't just giving them this $20 billion per se. It's a currency swap, meaning we give them $20 billion, and in exchange, they give us $20 billion worth of their currency, the peso. But we all know the dollar is very stable in comparison to the peso, which is why they are begging us for this. Yeah, it definitely helps them more than it helps us, as it will stabilize their markets, as investors will see that they have our backing. But eventually, Argentina will have to give us our $20 billion back with some interest in exchange for their pesos. Well, the risk is because Argentina is very volatile economically, they could take our $20 billion, be forced to spend it to stabilize their bond markets or whatever, and not be able to pay us back. Then thankfully, we have their $20 billion worth of pesos as collateral, which again could collapse in value. Sure, but you gotta understand the money we are using here is not taken away from other programs. It's just sitting there in what's called the Treasury's Exchange Stabilization Fund, which is emergency reserves waiting to be used for situations just like this to stabilize global markets. The last couple times this fund was used globally was Mexico in 1995 and South Korea in 1997, and these situations were much different, as those two countries are much larger trading partners with the US and generally more stable economies who just needed some quick help. They both repaid with interest and all was well. Argentina, on the other hand, is one of the most volatile economies worldwide, and they're like our 35th largest trading partner, so not that important. Their only relevance is their president, Javier Milei, is essentially MAGA. Well, he's brought free market principles and a Doge mindset to their country, which has cut inflation down substantially. The issue they're running into now is their markets and peso have been plummeting because some recent signs show Milei's political party might lose and bring back the anti-free market policies that have plagued Argentina. So Trump is trying to save his buddy in the next election, and he even said it. If Milei's party loses, he will stop helping Argentina. So it's essentially election interference. Because if Milei's party loses, there will be no hope for Argentina. Trump's investing in free market policies, not the man. And isn't the fact that all these banks are willing to put up $20 billion alongside the U.S. shows it will probably be a good investment? Well, it's because they, like some of Besant's friends, have a lot of investments in Argentina, so they're trying to save their asses there. Or we're all just trying to counter Chinese influence, who already have a close to $20 billion credit swap of their own with Argentina. I'm sure that's what it is. How the hell would you know?
So this guy just gave a conservative and liberal enactment of what's going on with the money to Argentina. So if y'all need a playback, it's Both Side News on TikTok.
Trump's bailout could have the added effect of hurting American farmers, who, we should note, are already suffering immensely under the effects of Trump's chaotic whipsawing global trade war. For the second time in a decade, Trump has picked a fight with China at the expense of American farmers, who make up, obviously, a pretty sizable portion of his political base. You see, American farmers grow a lot of soybeans, and China buys them. Last year, China bought over half, 52% of our total soybean exports. They are our largest customer. Billions and billions of dollars. This year is a different story. You see that graph? This graph shows our soybean exports to China over the last year. That line in May is where sales stopped entirely, kaput, completely, all as a result of Trump's tariffs. Farmers are now left with crops they cannot sell, and it is having an absolutely catastrophic effect on their livelihoods. Okay, so how does Argentina factor into this? Well, guess what? Argentina also grows a lot of soybeans. And Trump's buddy, President Milei, just slashed export tariffs to make it much cheaper for China to buy them. In other words, China is replacing American-grown soybeans with Argentinian-grown soybeans. And Trump is bailing out Argentina as they take sales directly away from American farmers.
Bailing out Argentina doesn't help my market. Sending me the tariff money that me and every other taxpayer in this country is paying for. I buy parts and I buy groceries and I'm paying the tariffs exactly like everybody else is. Sending me that money doesn't fix my problem. I mean,
hey, do that sound like AI to y'all? Ooh, let me find out MSNBC using AI.
Grown soybeans. And Trump is bailing out Argentina as they take sales directly away from American farmers.
Bailing out Argentina doesn't help my market. Sending me the tariff money that me and every other taxpayer in this country is paying for. I buy parts and I buy groceries and I'm paying the tariffs exactly like everybody else is. Sending me that money doesn't fix my problem. I mean, to me, currently all we want to do is throw money everywhere at problems instead of actually sit down and try to fix one. If Argentina fails, okay, they're my second biggest competition. If we're going to make American agriculture great and make it stand on its own 2 feet, then I need my second biggest competitor to fail.
Again, this is really crazy, right? I mean, think about this. Trump is explicitly, through his unilateral actions, hurting his own country, the farmers in his own country who voted for him by huge margins in order to help out his right-wing buddy in Argentina, all while the government that his party controls remains shut down. It is a set of circumstances almost beyond parody for the so-called American first president.
Yeah, I don't think y'all ready for that conversation, man. I think, listen, Argentina's bailed out already. The money is gone. Okay, now we need to look forward to what we're going to do about the tariffs and our farmers. Mind you, the farmers aren't selling stuff to us. Our bell peppers and limes and all that stuff, that shit is imported. But our farmland and our cows and stuff go to other countries. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to work in the shipping industry, and pretty much watching the agricultural ships that ship pigs, cows to China, that too has slowed down exponentially. So, the tariffs is hurting all the farmers. They talk about soybean right now, but there are farmers that farm meat, pigs, cows, goats, all that stuff, and that too. You got people burying their cows in their yard because they can't sell them. So it is what it is.
And what's the benefit for United States in helping this way Argentina?
Just helping a great philosophy take over a great country. Argentina is one of the most beautiful countries that I've ever seen. And we want to see it succeed. Very simple. I mean, we don't have to do it. It's not going to make a big difference for our country, but it will in terms of South America. If Argentina does well, you're going to have others following.
Some Iowa farmers are frustrated because President Trump is putting $20 billion into Argentina to bail them out. They're worried that the administration is focusing on foreign financial aid at the expense of American farmers. Madam Secretary, what do you say to those Iowa farmers?
Well, I understand the frustration from farm country, but what I will say is, and I live it every day, but what I will say is this. The president's focus remains 100% on America first, on ensuring he has the farmers in America's backs. What I've heard the president say over and over, and Secretary Bessent over and over, is that countries like Argentina, for the sake of world peace and world stability, it's important that President Milei is able to retain its leadership position in Argentina, and very, very important that Argentina continues to partner with America. That's way out of my lane. I'm more focused on slinging soybeans and making sure we're selling cotton. But the message to the farmers is the president is here. He sees you. He hears you. We're going to do everything we can to not only make sure you have that bridge from this harvest to next year's planting, but that we again move into that age where they're no longer dependent on government checks. And that's what I'm.
Yeah. How about we not bail them out and we stop raising tariffs so they can sell their soybean? Because they are workers just like the rest of us. You know, let them sell their product. If they can't sell their product, then don't bail them out. Because I don't see Trump going to like, remember Blockbusters and movie rental places used to be everywhere? I know technology did that, not freaking economic tariffs. Technology did that. But let's just say, for the sake of it, all these DVD rental places started going away. Did they say, hey, can we get a bailout? You know, we had a place called Family Video. Family Video was family owned, each one of them, all across Oklahoma, and nobody bailed them out. So when you have small grocery stores in community, especially black communities, that are failing because people can't shop there because they have higher prices because of the new Walmart was built around the corner. So now the local grocery store can't compete with Walmart. So now that shop is getting put out of business. Did Trump bail them out? Not at all. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, I use Blockbuster as a damn example. Like they couldn't get a bailout, but they didn't go along with technology. Netflix came in and, with the direct to consumer, and they started putting DVD boxes at every Walgreens, which there's a Walgreens and a CVS on every freaking major corner intersection. So Netflix then came from sending DVDs to your home to streaming to your mobile devices and your TVs. I mean, had Blockbuster got with times, they would have never failed. But I mean, it's somebody had a better idea.
How is this Argentina rescue package America first? And is this rescue package meant to help President Milei's party in the coming election?
No, it's really meant to help a good financial philosophy where Argentina can, after 20 years of disaster, because it was very successful at one point, and it can be again.
Okay, so Scott, what do you think of that?
Well, I think you've got a bigger problem. I think somebody needs to ask Argentina what they did with the $18 billion that China gave them in 2009 that they haven't paid back yet. So now in 16 years, Argentina's got $38 billion of money to prop their economy up while it does nothing but knife me at home. They filled my orders in China. They will fill the bean meal orders. I mean, in what world is it good to loan people, the worst person in the world, to pay back money to prop up their economy, to protect hedge funds who are deeply immersed in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange? How is this a good deal for me at all?
What if the...
I noticed he said that Chicago thing. That's why they said banks are willing to loan Argentina money because they have financial interest in Argentina. I'm gonna Google that. What he said it was.
Worst person in the world to pay back money money to prop up their economy to protect hedge funds who are deeply immersed in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. How is this a good deal for me at all?
What if the administration is giving you and other farmers a bailout? Does that help?
Well, I want trade, not aid. I mean, I understand that there's a lot of boys that's painted in the corner and they're not going to survive without it. But bailing out Argentina doesn't help my market. Sending me the tariff money that me and every other taxpayer in this country is paying for. I buy parts and I buy groceries and I'm paying the tariffs exactly like everybody else is. Sending me that money doesn't fix my problem. I mean, to me, currently all we want to do is throw money everywhere at problems instead of actually sit down and try to fix one. If Argentina fails, okay, they're my second biggest competition. If we're going to make American agriculture great and make it stand on its own 2 feet, then I need my second biggest competitor to fail.
How is this Argentina
Hey, I say keep that energy. Let them fail. You know, then you take over. You take over more of the market. Why are we sharing market with Argentina? You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Why are we need to be tough on Argentina. America first, baby.
Now I'm hearing that Trump's bailout package to Argentina is now at $40 billion. Originally it was $20 billion, not that that's even better, but now it's $40 billion that he's sending to them for their economic crisis. And yet he still has not helped his farmers here in the U.S. But again, I did a video on this just yesterday. These farmers voted for this. And again, we have a government shutdown. People are not going to be getting paid. People are on the verge of don't know what their health insurance is going to cost. And he's sending $40 billion to Argentina. I thought there was a such thing as America first. But it's everyone else and then America.
The federal government telling states not to send out November SNAP benefits. Here's the email I just got from the USDA. So here's the letter that the USDA sent us. You can see it's dated for October 10th. That was last Friday. Why am I now getting it today, Wednesday, the 15th? Well, it's because I did a story on SNAP benefit changes that are coming November 1st. I did that story yesterday. They responded by sharing this memo with us today. Let's take a closer look at it. Let's look at the second paragraph. Considering the operational issues and constraints that exist in automated systems and in the interest of preserving maximum flexibility, we are forced to direct states to hold their November issuance. The federal government telling states not to send out November.
The government has not ended SNAP benefits yet. That is literally a fear-monger tactic. Do not fall for it because it is a tactic used to create mayhem and chaos. And even though things will start getting worse, they have not yet. So please use the resources you have. Check for food banks, check churches and places like that. But don't fall for it. It is a fear-monger tactic.
All right, hey, the Democrats are playing hardball. Telling everybody you won't get SNAP benefits, so that's what they do. It's fear mongering. So now that'll put basically more pressure on the Republicans to open up the government or come with a healthcare deal, which we need to talk about the healthcare deal in just a second.
Concerns are growing here at home about what the shutdown could mean for SNAP benefits next month. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer shows us why advocates say the impact could be serious for families across the state.
Everyone who's eligible for October benefits will receive those benefits. November is questionable depending on how long the shutdown goes.
This is in Arkansas.
That's how the Arkansas Department of Human Services describes the outlook for SNAP benefits come November. Right now, more than 222,000 Arkansans rely on the program.
So SNAP becomes a really critical program to ensure that children and families, including seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, have access to critical food assistance to make sure that they're getting nutritious food for all of their meals.
Concerns are growing here at home.
Assistance to make sure that they're getting nutritious food for all of their meals.
Kristen Harper, Policy Director for Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families, says losing SNAP, even for a short time, would be a big deal for a state already struggling with hunger.
Arkansas is actually the most food insecure state in the nation. We have a food insecurity rate of 18.9% compared to 13.5% nationally.
DHS says if funding runs out, they'll encourage people to turn to local food pantries and programs, but advocates warn those resources could quickly be stretched thin.
Going to see food banks potentially become overwhelmed with requests that they can't necessarily meet.
Harper says she's urging Arkansans to reach out to lawmakers to end the shutdown and protect programs that help families afford food and health care.
Many of the families who access SNAP, they have children in those families. Our SNAP program, they have very strict working requirements and things like that. So most people who are accessing SNAP are working.
Covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Okay, I'm going to take a second to explain the whole SNAP benefits per state situation. So SNAP is a federal funded program. So because the federal government is shut down, they are no longer putting money into that pool, basically. So they're no longer providing money for SNAP benefits. However, certain states have additional funds for their SNAP benefits. So your state might have more money than other states. My state is Washington State, and the email was from a Washington State government employee, basically saying that Washington does not have additional funds to sustain paying past October. So November, no more money because the federal government is not providing the funds that they usually provide. However, I've heard other states like Florida have additional funds that they put into their SNAP program, so they're able to last a little bit longer. So it kind of depends on which state you're in, if your state has additional funds to be able to sustain paying SNAP benefits longer. But so you'll just have to check and basically just Google SNAP benefits and then your state and something should come up. But I know for sure that Washington State does not have enough money to pay November's or beyond without the money coming from the federal government as the program is designed. So I hope that answers your question. But basically, you're just going to have to look into it and see if your state has additional funds to last longer. I know most of them don't, though. It's really sad. It really sucks to see it. And a lot of people are going to be hungry. And the fact that this is happening right before winter, I mean, in the mornings, it's like 30 degrees where I'm at. Like, people need food, people need warmth, and it's really...
Well, I think the states are running out of money because it's at the end of the fiscal year budget. It's not as if they had, so if this shutdown happened 2 months ago, well, they'll still have September and October's funds to use until the budget gets replenished. But in this fact, they only have a couple months, which pretty much September, October's funds left, and nothing extra for November, December, like on and on. That budget will come with the next year's, so they'll have a budget for the full year. Okay, and that's what they mean. Like, I mean, that's why it's not no money left, because they only budget for 12 months. They don't budget for 14 months, just in case of a shutdown.
A hard time.
My kids have not eaten in 5 days. It is the taxpayer's responsibility to take care of my kids.
Trump done cut them food stamps off. If you're poor, don't have kids, okay? If you're struggling, don't have kids. Don't bring more in. If you already have them, that's another situation. If you don't have them, don't bring any in. And if you have two, don't go having another one. If you have one, don't go having two more.
So they say 2 million is getting cut off this month for the scamps. I'm about to go find out if I'm in that number, in that ratio.
It's been day 5 and I have not received no food stamps. My disability checks is on hold. My cash benefits is not coming no more. They're still pending. It is the taxpayer's job to pay for my kids to eat and for my kids to be taken care of. I have over 2,000 followers on TikTok and I can't get not one person to send me 50 cents. If you're watching a video and you can't send me nothing, I'm without blocking you.
You know, people are out here scrambling, asking, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Take your butt to work. Let's get into this video.
Back again, angry, because I just found out that SNAP benefits will not be available. This is federal level. This is a federal level thing. SNAP benefits will not be available starting November of 2025 because of the government shutdown. A notice just went out for Jefferson County. Hang on. A notice just went out for Jefferson County that SNAP benefits will not go out in November due to the government shutdown. And if you apply between October 16th through 31st, right over here, they'll be like essentially suspended. So there's no real way to process your SNAP anything. This isn't just specific to Denver. This is countrywide. And as somebody who was on SNAP benefits for a year, as I was going through my unemployment journey, relied heavily on unemployment and SNAP as a single individual, trying to make ends meet, I cannot imagine what it is like for families right now who desperately need this type of care for them.
She said single individual. That's like saying, never mind.
Nobody in this fucking country should ever go hungry, ever. Nobody, no child, no man, no woman, no non-binary, nobody in this country should ever go hungry. And the fact that the Republicans control everything, every aspect of the government, and we're still in a shutdown is unacceptable. November is when the holidays kick off here in the United States. The most popular months, whatever. This is so infuriating. This is so fucked up and so frustrating.
I say fuck them kids for Christmas. I ain't getting them nothing, okay? Listen, if I gotta make a choice between buying food and buying presents, I'm choosing food and my bills. I'll turn Muslim for a couple months and we'll move on with life. Fact of the matter is, we shouldn't have to make those choices with the government the way it is. But I mean, honestly, if you're receiving food stamps and housing and those type of beautiful things, you got bigger fish to fry than worrying about Christmas decorations and shit like that. But I understand it is a time for family, but you know, just live within your means at this time, and you know, just save up some money, because you know, I know it might be hard to save money, but just imagine if you put $20 a pay period up. It might not look like much, but it is. And you know, actually, I think if more people, you know, took their finances seriously and didn't go buy a 19% interest car every tax season, I think they should be doing well financially. But unfortunately, they don't, because they go put these high down payments on these high-ass cars every tax season and don't put nothing away for maybe a rainy day like this coming up November. I think that's very important for people to start doing. But you know, it's hard to give financial advice to people who don't really want to listen. And that's going towards poor people, not a specific race, gender, or anything, just poor people, okay?
Do you feel any urgency to end the shutdown in the next week, 2 weeks, or would you be fine if this stretches into November and then toward the holidays with folks not getting paid?
Well, you know, shutdown, we've had many, many shutdowns, and this is a shutdown that shouldn't have happened. A group of people brilliantly decided to make it after the election. I said, thank you very much. In other words, give it to Trump instead of Biden. So it shouldn't happen. And likewise, debt ceiling shouldn't have. But the big, great big, beautiful bill solved the debt ceiling problem for
Is there a point where you would reach out to
No,
all parties
here's what's
and
happening in the shutdown, though. Honestly, can I put it in plain words for you? And you're a smart guy, so you all understand, but a lot of people don't. The Democrats are getting killed on the shutdown because we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we were opposed to. So we're being able, and they're never going to come back in many cases. So we're being able to do things that we were unable to do before. So we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we wanted to close up or that we never wanted to happen, and now we're closing them up. And we're not going to let them come back. The Democrats are getting killed. And we're going to have a list of them on Friday, closing up some of the most egregious, socialist, semi-communist, probably not full communist, we're saving that for New York, but semi-communist programs, and we're closing them up. We're not closing up Republican programs.
All right, so like I said yesterday, I'm gonna try to explain some of this stuff. I did do some research on these. Democratic continuous resolution spread nearly $200 billion on healthcare subsidies for illegal immigrants and non-other citizens. Now, these are, I don't know what the full list is going to entail, but this at least is the healthcare part. I'm going to wait till Trump releases the full list tomorrow, Friday, October 17th. Okay, and then I guess we'll discuss that. But let's start with Section 71109, ending Medicare funding for most non-citizens. Donald Trump, or not Donald Trump, but they also have the facts. This is the facts that the Republicans have on the whitehouse.gov website. It says Democrats' proposal will once again allow those improperly granted asylum and parole under Biden's open border scheme to receive Medicaid. Democrats' proposal would require Medicaid to pay more for emergency care provided to illegal aliens than it does for American patients who are disabled, elderly, or children. Got to throw that in. Got to throw the elderly and children in there, and you're going to get them every time with that one. Democrats' proposal would allow California to continue to exploit a loophole to fund Medicaid for illegal aliens. This one I would agree with shutting down or stopping, because I don't know if it's a loophole that grants California more money from the federal government. I don't know what they're doing. Somebody broke it down in another video. Maybe I can find it and put it back out there. Democrats' proposal will reinstate a special Obamacare subsidy for non-citizens for which low-income American citizens are not eligible. Democrats' proposal will repeal a generational $50 billion investment in rural health care. Democrats' proposal would take health savings accounts away from 10 million American citizens. Now, let's start with ending Medicaid funding for non-citizens. And that goes Section 1109 of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act of 2025, the OBBBA, will end federal Medicaid for children's health insurance programs, that's CHIP, funding for most non-citizens. This change signed into law July 2025. Who is affected? The law eliminates Medicaid and CHIP eligibility for many lawfully present immigrants, including refugees and asylees, certain parolees, and victims of human traffic or domestic violence. That is the people who are lawfully here. They're immigrants, but they're not illegal immigrants, okay? But they're here for a reason, like refugees, asylum seekers, parolees. And I think asylum seekers is kind of what the people from Venezuela were posing as, or like when we kept getting those caravans of people, they were saying they were seeking asylum and stuff like that, so they were being let in the country and receiving medical health care for that matter. Who remains eligible? The only lawful present immigrants who will still be eligible for the federal Medicaid funding are U.S. citizens and lawful permitted residents, green card holders, after the standard 5-year waiting period. So that means after 5 years, they'll be eligible. Cuban, Haitian entrants, migrants from other countries under the Compact of Free Association, such as Marshall Island, Micronesia, and Palau. Eligibility options for children and pregnant individuals. States may continue to receive federal funding to cover lawfully residing children and pregnant individuals under existing options, provided they choose to maintain in these programs. So, yeah, that's what that is, if y'all didn't know. The next one is the for the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, ending enhanced FMAP for emergency care to illegal immigrants. The key changes under this section, where it says states will only receive the regular load. Let's see, some states receive. Oh, here you go. Okay, some section eliminates the enhanced federal matching rate (FMAP) that some states receive for providing emergency Medicaid to undocumented immigrants. Okay, that's what they want to end. Okay, the change affects emergency Medicaid services provided to individuals who would otherwise qualify for Medicaid but are ineligible due to their immigration status. In some states that adopted the ACA Medicaid expansion, this population previously qualified for an enhanced 90% federal match for emergency care. So yeah, I mean, so people who didn't get Medicaid, which this is $28 billion, people who didn't get Medicaid still received, they received emergency Medicaid, and those are to the undocumented immigrants. Now, for non-citizens, that's $6 billion. But for the illegal immigrants, that's $28 billion. Damn. Y'all trying to give $28 billion to non-documented? Shit. Okay. That's what y'all wanted to know. This is the truth. Okay. Democrats that's what they doing. And this is the research. This is showing what these programs, what they pay for. Okay. The federal government will only reimburse states for these emergency services at the standard Medicaid matching rate, which is typically ranges from 50% to 80% depending on the state. This change means less federal funding and a higher financial responsibility for legal mandated emergency care. The Congressional Budget Office projects that this provision will save the federal government $28 billion over 10 years. So there you have it. All right, so what this does mean, though, no change to emergency care mandate. Federal law still requires hospitals to provide emergency medical treatment to anyone in need, regardless of immigration status. The change in the federal match rate shifts the cost burden, but it does not eliminate the requirement for hospitals and states to provide this care. States and hospitals that care for immigrant populations are expected to be significantly affected by the reduced federal funds. It is anticipated that budget-constrained states will face increased pressure to cover the cost, or that providers could see lower reimbursement rates. Boy, that's what they mean when they say, if y'all cut this, if the government cuts this, it's going to cost those medical providers it's going to cost the state, because then the hospitals are going to ask for the state to give money. And what is the state going to do? Raise your taxes, America. So you're going to be paying more state taxes regardless. Hey, it's a win. It's a lose-lose situation on that. Honestly. Yeah, I just lose-lose. Next one is the closing of the California loophole in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Okay? This refers to a provision in a federal legislation that tightens rules regarding states, including California, can use provider taxes to draw down federal matching funds for Medicaid. The alleged loophole. This provision targeted what some critics call a money laundering scheme. States like California were accused of using creative accounting with provider taxes to receive federal funds without an equivalent state contribution. This issue particularly is relevant to California's expansion of Medicaid to cover unauthorized immigrants. Critics argued the loophole was used to secure additional federal money for this purpose, while some analysis state that the provision itself does not prevent the state from covering undocumented immigrants with state funds. Okay, so like I said, we covered this in another video on how California is bringing in this money. Okay, and they bringing it in because they're doing the right thing first, but then on the back end, they're billing the government as if it was something else. All right, so let's go to the next one. Medicare funding for most non-citizens. This should be great. A provision that terminates Medicare eligibility for many lawful present non-citizens. The new rule, which took effective immediately for new enrollees, will affect immigrants who have worked in the U.S. and paid Medicare taxes but do not have a specific eligible status. This will go in effect January of 2027. Medicare coverage will be terminated for non-citizens who previously eligible but are not of one of the following: lawful permitted residents, green card holders, individuals who have worked and paid Medicare taxes for 10 or more years can continue to receive premium-free Part A. Cuban and Haitian entrants. Certain individuals from Cuba and Haiti remain eligible. Migrants from Marshall Islands, Micronesia, and Palau remain eligible. Who will this terminate coverage for? A wide range of lawfully present immigrants, including asylees and refugees, survivors of domestic and trafficking, individuals with temporary protective status, individuals with deferred action, including DACA recipients, individuals with work visas or other temporary visas. Which is crazy because if you go back to the first one, it says people who remain eligible for Medicaid and children's health insurance is U.S. citizens and lawfully permitted residents, green card holders, after the standard 5-year waiting period. But then you go here and it'll be like asylee and refugees, domestic, or the green card. Oh no, the green card holders, yeah, they still. Oh no, Medicaid coverage will be terminated for non-citizens who were previously eligible. So the green card holders, the Cuban, man, it gotta be something up to that. It gotta be something up to that. Hey, Ben McBen, you can SMD, okay? Cause we going through everything. What do you think? I just watched this shit and just be like, oh, you know, this is the show, fool. It's just somebody check his status. He might be illegal. Get his ass out of here. Fuck out of here, weirdo. Anyway, funding for Obamacare. New laws restrict eligibility for Affordable Care Act marketplace subsidies over federal health programs for many lawfully present immigrants who are not lawful permanent residents, Cuban, Haitian entrants, and COFA migrants. This includes refugees, asylees, and individuals with temporary protected status. Limited eligibility for the marketplace starts in 2027. Refugees and asylees will lose access to subsidized marketplace coverage. So yeah, this is pretty much giving medical care to illegals. This is the programs that we have in America that are giving health care to illegals. Unfortunately, we have an illegal problem. Oh, okay. You want to? Oh, talking to Jacob. Okay, damn. My bad, big man. My bad. I wasn't paying attention to Chat, I thought you were telling me. My bad. All right, listen. My apologies. But I'm trying to give everybody the information, because who knows this shit? Nobody. I never read the big beautiful bill. I hope you accept my apology, but I was just because yesterday, y'all people got me fired up about the bullshit. Like, what y'all think this is? We on here trying to figure out why is our government shut down? Are they really funding the illegals? Absolutely. This is here in black and white. But it comes at a cost. Now, if Trump is getting rid of the illegals, then eventually some of the money that's being spent on the illegal immigrants, it'll eventually go down, right? Eventually. Right now we have such high numbers because we have constant people coming in illegally. So you fight one, you'll eventually alleviate the other. If you fight the immigration, the illegal immigration, then you'll essentially fight the money. But fund these people, fund these hospitals until we can stop funding these hospitals. I mean, until we can stop the illegal immigration. Now, what will that call for? Maybe if we treat these people and as a reimbursement, you turn them into ICE. I guess I don't know what you should do, but I'm just saying they can't continue to keep getting services from us. If we're gonna stop them, just stop the illegal immigration like he's been doing, and then our medical costs will go down eventually. It won't happen overnight, but it will eventually. Just like illegal immigration ain't gonna stop overnight unless you live in Chicago or Memphis. You here one morning, next morning you on the bus going back to wherever you came from. But eventually we'll get somewhere. This is from the White House. This is whitehouse.gov. This is the actual whitehouse.gov, the actual website for our White House. So that's
I'm going to break from the party line here on this. I'm a Democrat. I'm with John Fetterman and Angus King. The problem I see here is that, to pass the budget, it needs 60 votes in the Senate. And what is happening each year now, and what I fear is going to happen in the future, is the minority party wants to link that to some other very, very important issue. Affordable health care is critical, obviously, but I fear that this is going to happen every year, every September, October, November. The most basic function of Congress is to fund the government, turn the lights on, keep the government working so that the 3 million people who are public servants are able to do what they do to serve all the rest of us.
So you think that Democrats should vote to reopen the government?
I believe that Congress should vote to reopen the government. There apparently you need 7 Democrats to make that happen in the Senate. I think that the mistake our democracy is making is linking the need for that 60 votes to some other issue, even though it's a very, very critical issue, because what's going to happen is that this will occur every fall from this point forward.
Yeah, I recall just a few days ago that Republicans needed only 4 Democratic votes, and now it has raised up to 7. What could be the cause of that? Who has switched sides? We know Marjorie Taylor Greene switched sides. We know Lisa Murkowski has switched sides. Who's that third person that has switched sides?
I can respect a liberal. I respect Cortez. She's my buddy. I mean, she's a Marxist. She's a friendly neighborhood Marxist, as I always call her. And I say stuff to her. She'll get on one of my videos, and I'm walking off the floor of the house, and I say, hey, Cortez, and she go, hey, Burchett, and I tell people, don't look at her too long, she'll steal your soul. And we have that kind of relationship, and we can joke about it. And that's the trouble with what's going on in this country right now. Steve Cohen, probably as far left as you can be. You know, he's Jewish, and I try to be a Christian. We came from Tennessee together. We raised the speed limit together. You know, and we were kind of, I always joked, we'd go out to eat dinner at night because he was so far to the left and I was so far to the right, we met on the other side. But honestly, sometimes I just want to scratch his eyes out, you know, but he called my mama when my daddy died, and you can't get past that. And that is what we've lost in this thing.
Amen. See, some of y'all needed to hear that. These people really fuck with each other, but they just on two different sides. You know.
Donald Trump says they're using the shutdown to get rid of Democrat programs, but they got rid of special education. The creation of the Federal Department of Special Education was a result of a bill that was passed unanimously by both the House and the Senate in 1975. The Education for All Handicapped Children Act passed in the Senate with a vote of 87-7. Special education, federal special education, to help ensure equal education for all children is not a partisan issue. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. It is something that we do for children. It is a bold-faced lie to call special education a Democrat program when it was passed by both Democrats and Republicans. Just say that you want to give less to people. Just say, we're getting rid of all this stuff because we want to give tax cuts to billionaires, but we don't want kids with disabilities or learning disabilities to be able to get extra support in learning. Just say that. That's the true thing. It's not a Democrat thing. You just want to give people less. Donald Trump says they're using this
big difference between someone like Trump and someone like me or someone like Bernie, which is that Trump believes that if you don't vote for him, he doesn't have to be your leader. That if you didn't vote for him, that you don't deserve good things to happen to you. I don't care if someone voted for me or not. I don't care if someone is a Republican or an independent or a Democrat. I don't care if someone likes me or not. That will never change the fact that I'm going to fight for them to have health care. I want MAGA to have health care. I want MAGA to be paid a living wage. But he doesn't want people who are Democrats, or he doesn't want people based on their political affiliation to benefit. And that is the difference between a strongman and an authoritarian. And
Sure, of course, if you're breaking the law, you should be held accountable.
I think we need more details before we.
But I mean, if the reporting is what it is, and also if you take the public statements of people like J.D. Vance and others, the reporting is that they are drawing up a list, and that list includes major Democratic donors. So they're actually deciding in advance who they're going to look at based on party affiliation.
Right.
And then let me just add one more. Let me just finish one more thing. J.D. Vance very recently also made it clear that they are going to go after Democratic donors, Democratic-leaning foundations. He already said it publicly. So I'm not sure what more you need to hear. They've made it clear they are going to go after people with
I
a
would
D
need to
next
see
to their
action
name.
that actually violates the law, and I really don't think they have any intention of doing that. There's rhetoric, and then there's actually the actions you can take within the law.
But the rhetoric
Sure, you may not like the rhetoric, but it is what it is. It's rhetoric. Action is what matters. And because what we have seen is very organized and very well-funded somebody's, delivering weapons or delivering rocks, bricks, things to violent protests, which indeed
delivering what?
We have seen in past protests.
I get Uber bricks to have all my bricks sent.
Yeah, actually,
so convenient.
where do they all get it from? Where do they get all their helmets? How do they all organize?
Who built the gallows on January 6th?
Do you think it's all just very organic?
Sure, of course, if you're breaking the law.
What the fuck is going on? This went from I guess the list is what this young lady is suspecting is that there's a list of Democratic donors and Democratic leaning foundations that they will shut down. That's what Trump is talking. He's talking about shutting down many things that are, pretty much aligned with the Democratic Party. Then this other guy comes in and says, Well, there's some highly funded things by these Democratic donors. The Democratic donors, they're delivering bricks and rocks and helmets and stuff to these protests so they can, like, I don't know who doing that, but I do remember seeing it because when they wanted you to protest back when George Floyd was murdered, randomly in the line of the march, in the path of the march, were just randomly placed pallets of bricks ready to be tested, I guess. But the cold part about it is there was nothing being built. It was just randomly placed. Who would say, you know what? Let me buy a pile of bricks so when they go past there, the blacks will see it and they'll get to riot. Or I don't know if it was blacks, whites, it was everybody. But they'll see it and they'll get to riot and they'll prove our point. And you know what? People were falling for it until people with, who use their brain power instead of just using, just trying to tear some shit up. They were like, hey, don't touch that. That ain't ours. We ain't here for that. We ain't here for that. That's what we didn't get to see a lot of. But we did see it. That's the fact. When it happened in Oklahoma, we stopped it. We saw people starting the destructive behavior. And we stopped it and chased those people off. And like those people, it was like the weirdest shit in the world. I don't know if y'all remember that time. Like 2020 was crazy. And it was just like that person was just there, all black, hat on the hat. I mean, I don't remember if it was cold or not. I think it was. It was around Martin Luther King Day. So yeah, it was a crazy situation. Or no, maybe it was summer. I don't remember. It might have been around Juneteenth. I don't know. It was summertime. It was Juneteenth, and that's why I was suspicious because the dude was wearing like long sleeves, had a hat on. I mean, in June it's fucking hot in Oklahoma. So it was kind of strange to see. Strange time we was in.
Clear to communicate that as an individual. Now, to the question earlier as well, when they talk about Republicans and their success online, they have been successful because they have also been very clear, especially digitally, about what they believe. That women are inferior, they do not deserve equal rights, that they believe that LGBTQ Americans are subhuman, that they believe and are circulating disgusting racial and white supremacist messaging that they are able to get away with digitally and online. And they are able to radicalize and target and exploit a generation of young boys, in particular, away from healthy masculinity and into an insecure masculinity that requires the domination of others who are poorer, browner, darker, or a different gender than them. And that is why they are resonating online, because they are appealing to the most basest and worst parts of human nature to divide us. And why to divide us? So that the same people who own those platforms, people like Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, that these people can continue to get away with highway robbery in tax cuts and in order to fleece all of our pockets, cut our health care, keep our wages low so that we remain fighting amongst ourselves while they make themselves richer. And so in order for us to fight back against that, we must be clear about what we believe, have strong beliefs, and also be completely unwilling to bow to that kind of division and stand in solidarity with one another, especially when it is someone whose culture is different from ours or whose background we may not entirely understand, but that we honor, love, and see as our fellow Americans.
All right, I'm gonna end it with that, but I'm gonna try to find this video. It's this Oklahoma senator or Oklahoma for governor ad. Oh Lord, it's gonna show because what she's basically talking about is how Republicans have a better presence on social media and in the media and stuff like that. Yo, I can't find this dude's ad, but anyway, he has an ad. Oh, this might be it. No, this ain't it. Oh, here it goes. Somebody got it. Somebody got it. Hold on. Let me bring this over here. Where's the sound at?
For me, however, the ad really highlights what battles this Republican primary might hinge on. It definitely seems like this Republican primary might be all about who can own the left the most and who can appear the most conservative on social issues. Take a look at the ad and give me your thoughts after you watch it.
I'm Charles McCall, and let me be perfectly clear. Cutting this banana does not make it an orange. Charles McCall, pro-Trump, anti-woke. Gender is God-given, and there's only two of them. That's why we outlawed sex change surgery for minors and banned boys from girls' sports. I'm Charles McCall, and I have a simple message for any lunatic pushing sex change for kids. You first.
Oh my gosh. When I seen this on TV, I was like, bro. There's no hidden message there, okay? Well, if you didn't have any idea of what his stance was on trans rights, I mean, I don't know about sex change for minors and stuff like that, but I haven't Googled it or anything, but you know, I would hope that we wouldn't do that. Because children have rights too, right? Their body, their choice. But under 18, I don't think you should have the choice to make such a long-term decision. So I don't know what the ad is very controversial because it's showing on TV at regular programming times. And, I don't think YouTube or anything, they really, maybe they do target their audience on who sees this commercial. But I did see this commercial on YouTube. So, anyway, but let me know what y'all think about this healthcare spending bill. I think we're going to talk about the list tomorrow, hopefully. I'm glad we got to talk about the healthcare stuff and that and shout out to the chat because y'all really keeping it funky up in there, you know what I'm saying? And, challenging people on their issues because, listen, if people, they come in here and they talk a bunch of noise, but I want to see facts. I want to see policies. If we're going to make a difference, we got to do it together. That's just a fact. We got to do it together. We can't sit back and allow our country to be destroyed within ourselves, our funding given to other countries, our healthcare not being paid because of, non-citizens. We still need healthcare as citizens. So we here to fight, okay, for the American people. We're going to keep talking about it because it's good content and it's good information. Because, you know, when I was like 20 years old, you know what I'm saying, watching the drama and stuff was good then, you know, watching sports. But now I'm 40 and I'm more pertaining to what's going on in my community, what's going on in our government, and, you know, how can I help? Then we're going to focus on that too. So we're going to be on oh, I'm sorry, Minute with Misha. Shout out to you on Twitch. Shout out to, if y'all don't follow me on Twitch, please follow me on Twitch, everydaypj on Twitch. It'll be very much appreciated because we stay lit over there too. Because if you go watch me on Twitch, you can actually see all of my reactions. You can see every reaction on Twitch because that's where all my reactions are recorded, on Twitch. So if you want to go see it, if you want to check that out, you can check that out there. And you don't have to watch everything on YouTube, which I would like for you. But yeah, thank you again, and we'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll love you tomorrow and always. Or tomorrow's just a day away. I don't know. Tomorrow's just a day away. Good night.